Hello guys, in this video we'll see fully how to do the problem solving and what is the logic development. Okay, so I have seen many students who are suffering with these problems. Okay, they pass exam somehow, they are good in their curriculum, they score good, but when it comes to write the program by themselves, they lag behind because they simply go with the flow. Okay, whatever is taught and or whatever they are having in their exam syllabus, they are busy in covering that only, but they don't know how the logic is, how the program goes, what is happening when some statement is written and executed. So for that reason I am making this video for all the students who are interested in developing their logic and they want to be good in problem solving. So for that, watch the video till end, you'll get full idea and you'll be like zero to hero. You can write any programs, you can think on that. For that reason I have kept the name of the channel Learn Think Right. You will learn the logic, you will think on that logic, and you will write the code by yourself. Now first we'll see for every program. Okay, you take any language, this is video related to all the languages. Okay, you have some things in common that is related to all the languages, all the programming languages. Okay, so what is there, you include some libraries in the program. Okay, for example, suppose in C you write hash include stdio.h. so what is this? It's a preprocessor statement including library stdio.h. Okay, so this file, what does it do? When you write this code, all the contents of this file are getting copied into your program. Okay, so you are using some of the functions like printf, scanf, getch, clr, scr. Okay, all these functions, they are written in some of the libraries. Okay, so when you call these functions, they need to be defined somewhere. Okay, as you know, when you call some function, that has to be defined somewhere. So these functions, whenever you are calling, their definition is already there in these library files, and just you call it, they will get, the functions will get called from the libraries and the execution is done out there. So this was about the preprocessor statement or including the libraries in your program. Now next, what actually you are doing in your program. Okay, you start with taking some data, you process that data. Program is the same thing. Okay, you are taking some data, you are processing it, and you are giving the output. This is a program. Okay, now what you do, you declare some variable, you take some variables. Okay, for example, suppose I am taking one variable int a, variable a of type int. So this is integer variable. So once you do this, what actually happens inside is the memory is getting allocated for that variable. Okay, so now it's like booking a slot. Okay, booking a house for this variable, and the name given is a to this memory location. So now whenever you refer, you cannot go to the location and search for that value stored in that location. For that reason, we use variables. So in variable, you are storing value. Suppose this is variable a of type integer and I am just declaring it. So memory is allocated for variable a. Now, and this is of 4 bytes if it is integer. Now next, if I write a equals to 5, what is this? This is assignment or initialization of variable. So what happens? The value 5 is getting stored at the address of a. Okay, so this is for type variable of type integer. Now if suppose it is character, you are storing character at that location. For float, you are storing float, and depending on the type of variable, different bytes of memory will be allocated. Okay, float, then long int is there, double, okay, character or a character string, okay, anything can be there. So this was about the variables. First, what we learned, how is the library added in the function, how you declare variables, how the memory is allocated for the variable, okay, operations on variables. Before that, we'll see what are the local variables and global variables. The variables which are declared before, suppose you are writing some program, okay, so these are functions, okay, these are many functions. So if you declare some variable before all the functions in the program, that is called global variable, okay. So what is global variable? These global variables are accessible throughout the program. In whichever function you want to access, you can access them, okay. These are global variables. In that, one more variable is there, static variable. So what are static variables? Static variables, they retain their value throughout the program. Then next comes the local variables. What are local variables? Local variables are the variables which are declared inside the function, and they are accessible only in that function. And if you suppose here you declare some variable int a, okay, and assign some value, then if suppose you are trying to access that variable in another function, you will not be able to access, because the life of this variable is limited to only this function. So once this function execution ends, the variable will simply die, okay. That variable is not existing outside the function, okay, in which you have declared it. So understood. So this is the concept of local and global variables. Global variables are accessed throughout the program, you can access them in any function, but local variables are limited to the single function in which you have declared and initialized them, okay. Now next is operations. So you are taking input, you are taking variables. Why are you taking variables? To perform some operations on that. So operations can be like arithmetic, logical, conditional, anything. So I'll simply tell you in simple terms. Now suppose I am taking two variables a and b and storing their addition in C. Okay. So this is the operation. Which operation is this? Addition. And how are you doing that operation? With the help of plus operator, that is addition operator. So what is happening here? Memory is allocated for A, memory is allocated for B, 5 is stored in A, 10 is stored in B, and for C again the memory is allocated. At the same time we are storing the addition, okay. So you have to, in some languages you have to declare C before, or in languages like Python you simply can assign value to variable. Now what is getting stored in C? 15. So this is the operation, okay. Here you are performing an operation of addition, okay. Now this was about how to declare variables, how to assign them values, okay, how the memory is located for them, what is happening about the variables and operations, okay. Now we'll go further, we'll see operations also, and along with that how is the logic. Now let us go to the logic part. Now suppose if I want to check whether some number is greater than other number, okay. So how will you do that in simple language? You will first check the value of first number, you will check value of another number, then you will decide whichever is the greater one. So here simply, and how you do that? With the help of some conditional statements. You will check for condition. Now suppose as in last example, so this you know that B is greater, but how will you decide it in program? Program cannot understand. You simply tell it and it understands. It's not like that. You have to write a statement for that. So here you are checking if A greater than B, okay, and if it is true you are going to print A, then else print B. Okay, you'll do this much. But one more condition is there. What if both are equal? What will you do? So for that reason, you have to check one more condition, or else simply add here condition. If B greater than A, then print B, then add another else, print equal. Okay, this was about only this problem. Okay, so likewise you have to first think of all the possibilities. So here are three possibilities. Okay, normally when it comes to us, we simply think that either A will be greater or B will be greater, and we'll check only two conditions. But here one more possibility, that it can be, they can be equal also. So for that reason, first you are checking for A, then B, and in the else part, no need to check, because if no one is greater than, both are equal. So this was about the decision making. Now let us go to loops. Okay, so in loops, what is a loop first of all? So loop is something which is getting executed again and again. It is having some start point. Okay, from that point it will go check for condition. If the condition meets, again it is executing that part. If again the condition meets, it is again executing that part. It's a loop. Okay, so this is the general format of loop. How is the loop? Now we'll see how to run the loop and what happens with the loop. Okay, suppose you want to print numbers from 1 to 100. What will you do? If you don't know loops, you'll simply keep on writing print message 100 times. So what will that do? It will increase your length of the code. It will take your time. It will take your efforts. Okay, so that makes code lengthier. For that reason, we are using loops. Okay, loops will repeat the code, the statement block, for as many times you want. Okay, and you are keeping some condition for that. If that condition is true, then only that code block will be executed. If that condition is false, the code block will terminate over there. Let us see. For the example, I said for I equals to 1, I less than or equals to 100, I plus plus. So what is this? This is initialization. Okay, initialization part. This is condition part, and this is increment. Okay, increment or decrement, you can do anything. I'll tell you even decrement also. So this is the loop. Okay, you can write for loop, while loop, do while loop. I am telling it with the help of for loop. Now you are starting with 1 and you are checking for the condition whether it is less than 100 or not, and every time you are increasing the value. So how it works for the first iteration? So every time the loop is getting executed, we call it as iteration. Okay, for first iteration, i's value becomes 1. It will check for the condition whether 1 is less than or equals to 100 or not. Yes, it is less than. And what is the use of less than or equals to? If you omit this one, it will run up to only 99, because 100 less than 100 condition is false. So if you want to run it till 100, you have to write here equals to. Then control comes in. It will print. If you write statement print I, it will print 1. Okay. Then I plus plus, i's value is 2 now. Then 2. 2 less than or equals to 100, condition true. Again the control will come inside. It will print 2. This will happen till 100. Okay, 100 less than or equals to 100, condition is true. It will print 100 with the help of printf statement. Then again after printing 100, I plus plus, now i's value is 101. But 101 is not less than or equals to 100. For that reason, the loop will terminate here and the control comes out of the loop. So this was about the for loop in incremental way. Now we'll see the loop in decremental way. How to write it? I equals to 100. We'll start with 100. I here just, okay, try to understand this. Greater than or equals to 1, because we are starting with 100 and we are moving towards the downside. And minus minus, you have to minus minus, so you have to just be careful while writing the condition and increment or decrement. You are going to increment the value or decrement the value. Now in this case you are printing I, so what will happen here? I's value is 100. 100 is greater than or equals to 1, condition true. Control will come in, it will print 100. Okay, next time 99, then 98 and so on. Each and every time it will keep on decrementing the value, and when the value becomes 0, it will up to 1 it will display, and when it becomes 0, 0 is not greater than or equals to 1, so the loop will terminate over here. So this was about how we run loops. Okay, in that we can check for some condition. If suppose you want to display the numbers, only the even numbers, okay, so here you can apply some condition. If I mod 2 equals to 0, printf %d comma I. So what will it do? It will display only even numbers. So you can, inside the loop you can check for multiple. So if only you are writing one variable, you are taking one variable, only checking value, it will check for only one number, that it is even or not. But in the case you want to check for 100 numbers, how will you do? You cannot write the code again and again for 100 numbers. Simply run a loop, right inside that, okay, just check whether that number is divisible by 2 or not. If it is divisible by 2, that means it is a even number, and simply display the value. Okay, so and if it is not, you can write in else part, print odd, okay, %d comma I. So I is odd number, you can display even and odd number both. Okay, so this was about running a loop. Now next I'll tell you how to come out of the loop if some condition meets. Okay, so that there are two kinds of jumping statements. One is break and other one is continue. Okay, break and continue. If suppose if some condition meets, I don't want to execute further. Okay, if suppose I am taking some input from user and want to run the loop till only 15 iterations, I don't want to go further, then in that case, suppose I am starting with 1 and ending at 20 and I plus plus. Okay, I want to run the loop only 5 times. Then how will I apply that condition? If I equals to 5, I'll simply break the loop. Okay, I don't want to go more further. Okay, this is the case for where you use break, and if you want to print, you can print also. Okay, print the value of I. Now, how to write continuous statement and what is the use? When you apply break, the loop will not execute further, it will end, but it is not with continue. If you apply continuous statement, what is happening here? It will skip only one iteration. If I equals to 5, now you are running loop from 1 to 20. Okay, now what happens with continue? First it will print 1, then it will check whether it is 5 or not, and that will happen up to 2, 3, 4 and 4. Okay, now for 5 the condition is true and we are applying continuous statement over here. So this iteration is skipped. So as you are writing print, first it will print and next it will jump for the next iteration and it will start executing from the 7th number. Okay, so 7, 8, 9, 10 and so on. So this was about the break and continuous statements in any programming languages. Okay, arrays. Okay, so what is array? Array is a collection of elements of same data type. Okay, so what is collection of elements? Why we use it? If suppose you want to store some variables, store some data of same type in continuous memory locations, and you want to access it continuously. So if suppose you are declaring 5 variables A, B, C, D, they store some, maybe A is stored somewhere, B is stored somewhere, C is stored somewhere. This is the memory of computer, and they are stored in any memory locations. You cannot access them in continuous way. You have to access A separately, B separately, C separately, and so on. So if you want to access all the members of same type in single statement, okay, in single location, you want to store them in continuous locations and you want to access them continuously, in that situation you are using arrays. So how can you write? First write data type, then write name of the array, then write size, suppose it is of size 5. Now you can assign values like 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now suppose this is of type char or int. For an instance I take integer so that we can perform operations later on that. Now if suppose I do this, so what it will do, once you declare an array, it will allocate memory of 5 members, because we have mentioned here 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So it will allocate memory for 5 members and it will give name A. And how we access the array elements? With the help of indices. So this is index 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So indices starts with 0 and ends with one number less than the length of the array. And how to access this element? A of 0, this is A of 1, A of 2 and so on. Okay. Now next, you have declared array. Now you are assigning value to array. So what is stored? 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now at the index 0, 1 is stored. At the index 2, 2 is stored. At the index 1, 2 is stored. 2, 3 is stored. At the index 3, 4. At the index 4, 5 is stored. Now how to access those variables? How to display those variables? Let us see. Now for this we have to run a loop for I equals to 0, I less than. So just remember we are starting loop with 0 because the index starts with 0. I less than 5, and here we are not writing equals to 5, less than 5. I plus plus printf %d comma A of I. This will display the values of the elements. So for the first time, A of 0 is 1, A of 1 is 2, A of 2 is 3, A of 3 is 4, A of 4 is 5. So this is the way you access the elements. If you store them in separate variables, you cannot access them in directly in continuous manner. Okay, if you write array and allocate memory for that, you assign values for that, you can access them directly, okay, and continuously. So this was about array. You can write even character array. Now we'll see the logic for finding the smallest number in an array. How will you find in this array? Okay, if suppose I just interchange the values. Now this is the array. How will you find the smallest number in an array? First you will check with these two numbers. Okay, whichever is smaller, this is smaller. Now you will check with these two numbers. Now in these both, which is smaller, this is smaller. Now we will check with these two numbers. In these two, which is smaller, this is smaller. Now you check with 2, okay, and 1. In both of them, which is smaller, 1 is smaller. So you can tell, okay, this way I can find a smaller number. But what is the logic? How to write the code for that? Now again, we are doing it with the help of the code and we are using loop over here. Now let us see. Suppose suppose here I am taking one variable called minimum, and in that I am assigning value of a of 0. For instance, suppose this is the minimum number, this is not the minimum number, we are just taking the first number and we will be continuously checking it with all the numbers. Now for I equals to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. Here if the array is larger, you can take size of array, you can later assign the values and then you can write here length of array also. Here I am taking small array for example. Then for every time, for every element I am checking this, okay. If a of I, now it is starting with 1 because already a of 0 I am storing minimum, is less than minimum, then I am assigning value of a of I to minimum, okay. And at the end of this loop you will be having the minimum number in variable min. So I'll tell you how it getting executed. For the first time it is having value 6. 6 is I have already explained, 6 is taking 2, then 2 is smaller, now minimum is having value 2, okay. They'll exchange the values. Now minimum is having 2. 2 is less than 3, yes it is true, it will not store the value of 3, it will store 2 only. Now next 2 is checked with 4, again 4 is smaller, minimum is having value, again 2 is smaller, minimum will be having the value of 2 only. Then next again 2 is checked with 1, now 1 is less than 2, that in that case it is storing the value 1. So minimum, our minimum is 1. So this was the logic for finding the minimum number. In this way you can sort the numbers of any length, okay. Then you can perform any kind of operations, okay, with the number you got in the minimum, in the larger sorts, okay, searches you can perform. So this was about the logic behind arrays and loops. Next we'll see functions. What are functions? Functions is a self-contained block of statement. Okay, why we use function? If suppose you want to perform some task again and again and again, if suppose if there is some app and it is greeting the visitors, the users every time, that is hello user, okay. Suppose this is the task, okay. In hello user it is displaying the message hello user every time, and for every time, okay, 100 times it is displaying the message hello user, hello user, hello user. There is no point in writing the code, this is just one line. If suppose I'll give one more example. If we are taking some addition from we are taking some numbers from users, suppose some 100 numbers, okay, and we want to perform their addition or some task, multiplication, or just you want to find the lowest number, largest number, whatever it is, you want to perform that task 1000 times in your code. So what will you do? Will you write that 100 times, or you'll simply write the code once and call it again and again? So this is the point. In the function you are writing the code, okay, and that code you are calling whenever it is required. So now how to write function? First you will be writing the return type, then name of the function, then brackets. If you have some arguments you will write argument, otherwise it will be empty. Then you will write the statement block. And how to call the function? Simply function name and semicolon, okay. This is the way to call function. In case suppose the function is returning some value, you have to access that value in the same type, okay. If suppose the function is returning a string, you have to accept that in string, and if suppose it is returning some character, some array or some numbers, you have to access it in the same data type. Suppose it is returning a float data, you have to access it in a variable with float data type. Okay, now this was the simple way of how to write a function. I'll tell you one example of function. Now suppose I am writing a function which returns value of type integer, and it is taking again two arguments a and b, okay, of type integer. Now I have to take two inputs and I have to like two arguments, and I have to return one value. Then suppose I take in C here. In C I am storing the addition of A and B. I am returning the value of C. So now what we are doing, we are taking two numbers, adding them and returning value. So if you want to do this task again and again of adding two numbers, you need not write it again and again. Simply call the function add. And how to do it in main? Suppose we are in function main. Okay, this is for C, CPP and Java. Okay, for Python and all you need not to write main function. Now here I have to pass two values. Either I can take two variables, int x, y, x equals to suppose 50, y equals to 10. Then how to call? I have to take one more variable to accept the value returned by this function. Z equals to add, I have to pass x and y and semicolon. So what we are doing here, we are passing 50 and 10 to the function. Now the control goes to the function definition, and here we are accepting values of x and y. X is copied into A, y is copied into B. Now so in A what we have 50, in B we have 10, and returning C will return. After the execution, the control will come to again this statement, and it will return the value that is stored in Z. And what it will, if you print Z, what it will print? It will print 60. So this was about the functions in any language. You write the functions this way. So this is the format of writing functions in all the languages. Okay, you can just write a function which is not returning anything. You can write a function which is returning a value. You can write a function which is not accepting any parameters, and you can write a functions for who are accepting parameters. Okay, and you can return value. So this was about pass. This is called as pass by value. In case if suppose you are passing by address, so that time what to do? You have to pass the addresses. No, here you are accepting it in pointer, and here you are passing the addresses. So what is in which case it is useful? Now here you are passing x and y, and here you are accepting. Suppose in this function you are doing like a equals to a plus 10. Okay, now a's value becomes 60, but this value is not reflected here in x will remain 50 itself. So if you want to change the value at the address, that time you are passing address of the variable, and it is accepted in pointers. Okay, in next session or after this one we'll be seeing pointers only. Okay, see pointers. Though it is not used in other programming languages, we'll see pointers now. What is a pointer? Pointer is a variable that is storing address of some other variable. Now why it is used? suppose you are storing some value and you want to access it in some other function and you want to make changes to it, you can do it with the help of pointers. Otherwise, the variables declared or initialized in one function are not accessible to other functions. But with the help of pointers, you can simply go to the location to the functions which are declared in other functions and you can make changes, and the changes you made will reflect in all other functions also, which all functions are using those variables. Now we'll see. First, I'll take one normal variable a. This is a normal variable. I'll assign value 10 to it. Now, how to declare pointer variable? Int star p. So, asterisk. This is asterisk symbol. Then name of the pointer. You can give any number of your choice with relating to the function it is doing. Now, it is star p. Now, how to assign the address of this variable to this pointer? So, first we'll see a memory map of this a. Okay, the memory will be allocated for a and 10 is stored in that. Now, I want to make p pointing a. How to do that? P equals to address of a. Now, a is storing address of p is storing address of a. Suppose address of a is some 1001. Now what is p storing? P is storing now address of a, that is this is the value stored by p, and the data type of the variable and pointer must match. You have to write the same data type. Now I'll show you one simple example with the help of a function. And so address of p will return you address. What if you want to access the value at that address? Star p will return you value at the address. In previous example, we were writing 5 in a. Now if suppose you are printing p will display the address and star p will display the value at that address, that means it will give you 5. Now if suppose I am taking some variable in some one function, okay, suppose I am writing function void 1, okay, in this I am writing here one variable assigning value 5, okay, then I am passing this variable to function 2. Okay, how to do it? 2 I am calling function 2 and passing it the value of a. It's a function call. Now let us see what happens in function 2. 2 is also of type void. Now here, okay, and it is accepting value. Suppose the a's value we are copying in x, and here I am incrementing the value of x by 10. So what will happen? If I print here value of x, it will display what? 15, and the value of a is still 5. It is not changed at data address, but I want to change the value in this function also. In that case, you are passing the address. Now I am writing here address of a, and here I am accepting the value in a pointer, okay, and here I am writing star x equals to star x plus 10. Now if you print here, okay, the value after calling the function, print a, what it will display? It will display the added value. So this was about the pointers. Now I hope you are clear about how to solve the problem and logic with the help of the programming languages. So for that reason we have got so multiple things. We have got what we can declare variables, we can store value in them, we can check for some conditions, we can run loops, okay, we can store them in continuous locations with the help of arrays, we can sort them, we can search for any variable. So friends, what all we learned today? How to write variables, what happens if you declare variable, how to store value at that variable, how to access to the location, how to write the variables in continuous memory locations, how to perform operations on that, okay, how to write, how to run the loops, how to apply conditions, okay. So I guess all the logical part is clear now, okay. So now I guess you are good in the problem solving and the logic part. So feel free to try new kind of problems, try to solve problems, try to write new programs based on the logic you learn. Basically, I believe that wherever you go, you have to be with a strong logic. Okay, the logic is the base part for any programming languages you go. With the help of a strong logic, you can go to the higher levels. Okay, so this is the base, and I guess with this video you have got help in developing your logical part. Okay, feel free to ask any doubts, try to write new codes, try to write new programs based on the base I have given to you. Okay, so I have tutorials for even all the programming languages with in detail. Okay, in like I have tutorials for C, core Java, core Java. I'll be opening the sessions shortly. Next is JavaScript, HTML for web development, and Python. Okay, CPP I'll be starting soon. So these all things we have. With the help of those videos, you can learn the programming in detail. Okay, feel free to approach me. Feel free to share your experiences. And finally, subscribe the channel, share it to your friends so that more and more students will get the benefit of this video, and they will be learning and they will be strengthening their logical base. Okay, so thanks for watching the video. Hope to see you in upcoming videos.